falls. And in just a moment, we're going to set this up and come away with a beautiful photograph.
Adorama TV presents You Keep Shooting with Brian Peterson, where you'll learn unique and creative techniques that will elevate your photography skills.
Hey, it's a homecoming for me. Back in 1970, when I first picked up a camera, I made a visit to Silver Falls State Park. I lived at the time in Salem, Oregon, and this particular park, Oregon's largest state park, is 22 miles east of Salem, Oregon. Before me, we have the Upper North Falls here in the park. In front of me, I've got my camera all set up, foreground interest, water coming down here, and of course the distant waterfall in the background. I'm using the 17 to 35, and in just a moment, we're going to set this up and come away with a beautiful photograph. Hi, I'm Brian Peterson, and you are watching Adorama TV. There's a number of factors that go into the success of a photograph like this. Number one, we ask ourselves, what if any depth of field concerns do we have? We got a lot. We want to use immediate foreground all the way to the distant infinity. Two, we also want to take advantage of the motion opportunity here, so we're going to use, in combination with a small aperture like 22, we're then going to be utilizing, because of that small aperture, a slow shutter speed. In addition, that slow shutter speed will definitely emphasize the motion of the water, but we're also going to be adding on a polarizing filter, and you will see why. But the point is, with that, is going to reduce the glare that is on the surface of this water. I will show you in a moment the before and after example of how that polarizer comes into play. With the polarizer, that also is going to increase the exposure time. Instead of shooting this at f22 at a quarter of a second, we're going to be shooting f22 at a full second. Roughly 2 stops is what the polarizer is going to be taking away in terms of the overall light. So we compensate for that. Through the lens metering tells us we now got to go 2 shutter speeds slower. So, other thing I want to point out, use mirror lockup. And finally, cable release. Now when you use mirror lockup, you got to do 2 clicks. Click number 1 locks the mirror. Click number 2 starts the exposure. So mirror lockup is in place. The composition's all set up. Let's first of all take a picture here. Mirror lockup, 1 press and 2. Take a look at that photograph. That's without polarization. Now I'm going to turn the outer ring of the polarizer, and as I do, you will see the glare. As you look through the camera, you will see that glare dissipate. Take another picture. 1 click, the mirror locks up. Number 2 click, the exposure starts. And take a look at that. The 2 images side by side. It's so obvious which one is polarized and which is not. You've got glare, then you got a substantial reduction in the glare. Obviously, the one with less glare has been polarized. Now, not a bad photograph. It's compelling. It's Mother Nature at its best. But remember, you are in charge of your own creativity. What are we going to do to dress this up and make it a little bit more compelling? We want to throw some fall color into this scene. Some of you may have a problem with this, but I personally obviously don't, because I'm about to add something to the photograph. And in my opinion, I'm simply doing what Mother Nature intended. Haha. So, what I've got here is I've gathered up a bunch of leaves, and I'm going to put these leaves in front of the rock, like so, and another one here, and finally, like so. Now, we go back and double check our composition. Oh yeah, looks good. Polarizer's in place. 1 click, mirror locks up. 2nd click, exposure's done. Take a look at that. Compare that with the polarized shot with no leaves, and now the polarized shot with leaves. I think it's a little bit more compelling. I'm simply doing what Mother Nature intended.